a lot of mystery surrounding hypnotism and its uses, and a lot of people still do not fully understand what it means to be hypnotized. Thankfully, David R. Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist, is here to explain how he has used hypnotism throughout his life, from entertaining stage shows to group therapy and to personal sessions. Welcome to Celebrate Michigan, the show produced on the campus of Madonna University. I'm Chris Benson, and I am welcoming you to the show today. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It's wonderful to see you, and such an interesting topic, hypnosis.
Yes.
I know we're going to get into a lot of things in the show today. I know you're going to talk to us about the ways you've used it. You've got a podcast that's fairly popular that I hear about.
Yeah.
And I also understand that you are going to be showing us some visuals of, like what happens during hypnosis, because you do shows, you do personal sessions like we mentioned, and so we're going to be taking a look at those in just a minute. So to start us off, how did you get involved in hypnosis?
I'll make a very long story shorter because, of course, we're in a time frame. But when I graduated with my master's degree in counseling, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I started practicing therapy right out of school, and I was using things like guided imagery and meditation and relaxation techniques as a part of my therapy process. And as I got more into it, I'm like, I'm doing all of the things that really make up what hypnosis is. So I decided at that point I might as well be certified in that as well, and it just adds another avenue for my therapy to help clients.
Oh, so another modality, if you will.
Yeah, another modality, exactly.
Okay. Well, I know we're going to take a look at some pictures, so I'm just going to ask you to walk us through what we're seeing on the screen. I know we couldn't have them here today, so tell me what we're looking at.
Well, this was a stage show I did for the University of Florida. It was the University of Florida Dance Marathon, where they had 3,000 students in their basketball arena. So this was me on stage at that show. And probably several of these photos will be from that show because we had a professional photographer and they look good.
Awesome.
That's why we're using them.
So big group, 3,000.
Yeah, a lot of students in that group. Yeah.
Excellent. And I know you've taken the show on the road. You've been to lots of different places. Oh, there's some of the students.
Yep, there's some of the students on stage as we're going through at this point, probably through the process of what we call the induction, the relaxation phase of getting them into that relaxed state.
And they volunteered for this, I'm assuming.
They volunteered, yes.
Okay.
And with college kids and high school kids, there's no fear.
Oh.
Everybody wants to be on stage.
Awesome. So, getting ready to call someone up here, I'll bet.
I'm giving somebody directions because they're all on stage. You just see the front row. You can see it. You see it, these kind of people are slumped over on their side, the front people, and their heads are down. So I'm giving somebody a specific direction as a part of the show right there.
Wow, and they're getting ready to obey your command, I hope?
So this gentleman, he's in the tank top there. And that's one of the bits, I'll call it a bit, because it is. I will say to one of the volunteers, you hate laughter. Whenever anybody laughs, it drives you crazy. You get angry. And he was just, he was making me laugh.
I could see his body language.
Angry.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, he was really angry. And it's part of the fun of doing shows. I just get to laugh right along with him. It's with the crowd and with the volunteers on stage. And this is on stage at that show looking out into the crowd.
And you've done shows, I know you mentioned this one's in Florida, but in a number of different places. Give us an idea of various places that you've performed.
I've been all over the United States, everywhere from North Dakota to Florida to Iowa to Kansas. Trying to think if I've been out west. Probably. I did a show in Vegas, although it wasn't a Vegas show.
Okay, gotcha.
It was more an impromptu thing, so we won't count that. But yeah, I've been in a lot of states, a lot of shows in Ohio, Wisconsin, a lot of the Midwest area, because of course traveling makes it a bit easier for me to get into those places.
And audiences of all different sizes. You mentioned 3,000 there, small groups?
3,000 there, small groups down to maybe 20, 30 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between, let's say, an experience like that where you're doing some entertaining, you know, and also maybe doing like a smaller group? Like, do you have the same approach to that, or?
Well, if it's for entertainment, the approach is probably the same because I want to give the same energy that I gave to 3,000 kids to 20 kids, because sometimes their school might not be that large and they might not have as many kids, but I'm going to give them the same feeling and same experience. So I try to do it as much as I can with as much emphasis and with as energy as I can give them.
And you mentioned there's like an entertainment piece, but there's also a therapy piece. So what's the difference?
Well, kind of, as you stated, one is for entertainment, the other one is therapeutic.
Okay.
And it's broken down pretty easily like that. If I'm doing hypnosis for therapeutic reasons, such as somebody that comes to me that may suffer from anxiety or may want to stop smoking, that's a very common thing that people come to see me for. I'm very focused on what their needs are. So we're not really having fun. We're focused on making change.
And are those generally personal sessions, like one-on-one, or do you do small groups with that as well?
I do small groups for certain things. For me, I don't like to go over 10 because I want to give everybody that attention. But I have done work for, like, company may bring me in and say, we want to do a self-help seminar. So can you come and talk to our people and go through a stop smoking session? So I'll do that with a crowd. And that's still fairly successful because, honestly, even if 60% of the people it's effective, that's 60% less people smoking in their company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard of using hypnosis in that way with smoking and some other conditions or characteristics that people have. What would you say? How would you say hypnosis has it increased over the years in popularity? I feel like I'm hearing about it more.
It's definitely become more acceptable.
Okay.
And that's for sure. And I'm sure later on in the program we'll get into myths and misconceptions on why it's more acceptable now.
And I know people are seeking it out as well. And do you find they seek out more personal or group? And is there a difference?
It depends on the time of the year. Around high school graduation time, I get a lot of requests for shows because grad nights, post-proms, and state and county and local fairs throughout the summer.
Well, we came up very quickly to a break here.
I sure did.
And so I know we're going to talk in the next segment about what the experience is like. So we're going to take just a quick break. David and I will talk about some of the misunderstandings, as he mentioned, and maybe talk to you about how you can feel at ease in getting hypnosis therapy. Stay tuned.
Check out this chef, right? Right?
That's so gay.
That's really gay. Dude, look at those pants.
Please don't say that.
What?
Don't say that something is gay when you mean that something is dumb or stupid. It's insulting. It's like if I thought this pepper shaker was stupid and I said, man, and this pepper shaker is so 16-year-old boy with a cheesy mustache. Just saying. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
I want to see the world.
When you pick up a book,
I used to read every night to all the younger kids,
and let your imagination break free, you won't believe how much fun it can be.
let down your house.
Experience a world of adventure, excitement, and endless possibilities. Get tangled up in a good book. Explore new worlds. Read. Visit read.gov today.
Yes, ready.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
When life's this hard, it's no wonder 7,000 students drop out every school day. Visit boostup.org and help kids in your community stay in school.
In the event of a car crash, 3 out of 4 kids are not as secure as they should be because their car seats are not used correctly. But the latch system makes it easier to get it right and to hold your kids tight. Anchor, tether, latch. Learn more at safercar.gov.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson, and today I'm here with the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright. And we're going to talk a bit about some of the common fears people have surrounding hypnosis. And we want you to be able to feel safe and comfortable with what you might be receiving if you're involved in the process. So tell me what it feels like for the person. We couldn't actually get hypnotized here on the show today. We've got some limitations, but
right.
Tell me what
understandably because of COVID, yeah.
Yes. Tell me what it might feel like. So, for example, if I wanted to come to you, mentioned smoking cessation or maybe anxiety,
sure,
and I wanted to work with you one-on-one, what would that look like right now in COVID times, I guess?
Well, right now I am doing virtual sessions just because right now it's safer. We're hoping, let's keep our fingers crossed that later in the year we'll get back to semi-normalcy. Now, people have doubts on whether hypnosis can be effective virtually, and it can. I mean, just like therapy would be done virtually, which I'm doing right now as well. It's not ideal as far as telehealth goes, but it can still be very beneficial. So yeah, it can be effective. And I much, of course, rather have people in my office right in front of me and just talking to them.
If I made an appointment and I wanted to be treated for something, how long would my sessions be? How many would I have?
That's a big if, and that depends on the person.
Okay.
Every person's different, and some people respond very positively, very successfully, one session. In fact, with a lot of my clients who come in for smoking cessation, many of them are one and done. One session and they're done. Some people take a little bit longer to get into that relaxed state. They have to have a little bit more, we have to put a little bit more work into it. Maybe if you're out there and you're one of those overthinkers that you're constantly analyzing and you're not letting go, it may take a little bit longer to get you into that state. Now, my personal opinion is everybody can be hypnotized. And I've heard other arguments to the contrary, but I think with enough time and direction, anyone can get there. It's just a matter of how long it will take.
Well, let's dig into some of those fears that people have,
Absolutely.
or the stereotypes I bet people have about it. So some that I've heard is you're going to like hold up the spinning like spiral and then my eyes are going to turn into spinning spirals and then I'm going to be under your control. I'm going to be in a trance.
Yes.
Does that really happen?
No.
Okay.
And I'll preface this by saying I've never seen hypnosis portrayed correctly in movie or film, or movie or TV. So most of the things you see are those stories of, the old guy with a pocket watch, and then the person gets glazed over and they go and they punch someone, you know, something crazy like that. And I tell people, I can't make you do anything. I can't control you. If you were in a hypnotic state, if you were in that relaxed state, and I use this example in my stage shows because it's somewhat humorous, but it gets the point across. If I were to hypnotize you and say, okay, when I snap my fingers, you're going to go over and punch the first person you see in the face, of course your mind's going to say, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's just, it goes against what your beliefs are and what your moral code is. So I can't make anyone do something. That's a big misconception.
So I don't have to be worried that if I'm going in, let's say for, like we mentioned, like anxiety reduction or some work there, that I'm going to somehow go into a trance and then I'm going to do something I wouldn't normally do.
Correct.
Okay. So
now, when you're in a hypnotic state, you might be more apt to do things you might not, I wouldn't say not normally do, but you're freer.
Okay.
You're less self-conscious. And that's why you'll see in stage shows, people who might never get up in front of a group of people might stand up there and sing or dance because they've let their guard down and say, I'm not worried about there, I'm just in my own space here, and this is what I enjoy.
So another fear I think people have that I might have heard is that they might feel they would embarrass themselves. Like, I'm going to reveal like the family secret I've been carrying for 30 years out in front of everyone, and then I won't ever be able to take that back. Is that a myth?
That is a myth, and I always say that if I could get secrets out of people, I would be hanging around bank ATM machines.
Right.
I would not do that, but I'm just saying as a joke. Yeah, if people don't tell any secrets they wouldn't normally tell in any other situation.
What do you do to make sure that hypnosis is safe for the people that you're working with? How can you reassure them?
The biggest thing to make sure that it's safe, and when I say safe, to make sure that the client is comfortable, they're going to get the results they want, they know that nothing bad will happen. It's all based on the pre-talk, and that's that talk I have with them before we even do a session. I'll sit them down, I'll explain all these myths and misconceptions. I want them to feel secure and safe. Now, unfortunately, in every profession, we have bad things that happen, and we want to make sure that they're not concerned about those things, that they're in a reputable place, and that they're going to be safe. And that when they feel safe, they're more apt to be relaxed and let themselves go.
And your website, I read a lot. It's a great website, by the way.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed reading it. And tell folks who are watching what it is again, the name of it.
It's MotorCityHypnotist.com.
Okay, so MotorCityHypnotist.com.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked there, I was surprised to see that there was just so much information explaining what to expect during a session. And I also saw something I didn't know. There's certification and licensure. What's the difference?
So, long story short, and this is state specific, but it is this for most of the United States. There's no licensing of hypnotists or hypnotherapists.
Okay.
There's no governing body. It's a certification that people can get, but in your plumber down the street could go online and be certified in a month to be a hypnotist and call himself a hypnotherapist. Now, nothing against plumbers.
Sure.
They do a great job. But it's important that the general public knows that when they call, to make sure you understand that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't see that person.
Sure.
They might be able to help you just fine. But just know that they don't necessarily have any mental health experience or training. And that's one of the big misnomers, I think, from people, is that they assume if they call themselves a hypnotist or hypnotherapist that they're licensed in some way. And it's really just a certification. So it's important to ask that question when you look for someone.
And I think that's a great analogy because in your case, you've got more of that background from the mental health perspective, so there can be a deeper conversation, perhaps a richer conversation, and a safer conversation.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really important point, and I loved some of the tips and things that you had on the website as well. So I would definitely encourage people to check that out to get more information. So this is such interesting stuff. I am so glad you're making people feel comfortable, and we're going to take another quick break. I can't believe it's come up already. But when we're back, we'll talk more with the Motor City Hypnotist, and we're going to talk about his podcast, which you can listen to, and I do all the time. So stay tuned.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Sounds like you could use some Van Gogurt. It's fortified with arch-rich nutrients to improve your math and reading skills. Catch!
Van Gogurt, thanks. So what's the deal with your ear?
Always with the ear, huh?
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program is preparing me for the future.
I'm learning from industry professionals, making connections, and honing my skills from hands-on experience every day.
The professors are dedicated to my success, instilling professionalism, creative thinking, and a strong work ethic.
Join Madonna University's Broadcast and Cinema Arts program. Earn your Bachelor's of Arts and take that first step towards your dreams.
Nice. Yes, go! Yes! No! Come on!
Oops.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
Welcome back to Celebrate Michigan. I'm Chris Benson. Again, we're here with David R. Wright. We're talking about the Motor City Hypnotist podcast. As we've been talking, I love podcasts. It is, I think they're just so fun, and I listen to them all the time. What made you want to take this show on the air?
So, well, funny, it's probably the same reason many people made changes and pivots this past year. It was COVID, because typically during spring, summer, I would have no less than 30, 40 stage shows at high schools, colleges, fairs. And because of COVID, that whole schedule got wiped out last summer. So in June, I was guest hosting on a friend of mine's. She's also a mental health therapist. I was co-hosting with her on her podcast like in April. And I thought, and I've been thinking about this for many years. I'm like, I want to get into the podcast area.
Yeah.
I feel like I can just do it on my own time, kind of, but just, share and reach more people. That really is the big thing. So I decided to launch that, and it launched in June of last summer, and we're up to episode 72.
Wow.
Am I in 72? No, it's 71 and 72 this week, I believe. So yeah, I just thought I want to still be able to reach out to as many people as I can. And fortunately, I see clients during the week. That's a great thing. But there's only a certain amount of hours in the week, and I'm only talking to one or two clients at a time. So in order to reach a larger audience, I needed an avenue to do that. Thus the podcast.
Did you have any podcast experience before this?
No.
Okay. And I have to tell you, my husband's a big fan of your podcast, and I heard it in the background and said, hey, I love the upbeat voice and the excitement, very lively.
Yes.
How did you come to this with the podcast? You have no experience doing it.
I listen to a lot of mental health podcasts, being a mental health professional. And most, not all, but most are they're very serious, and they talk really quiet, and there's always, it's just, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. A lot of times people need that soothing, comforting, and they use a lot of psychological terms like you're in a shame spiral and you need to get out of these toxic relationships. And I just wanted to do something that was real, that was just filled with humor, that was just more friendly, more open, but we still get to the points and talk about issues. And the big theme of the podcast, and I say it on every episode as I close out, change your thinking, change your life. If you change the way you think about things, it changes everything else.
What are some of the topics you've had on the podcast, and where do you get your ideas from?
I have a lot of ideas. I have a whole Word doc that it's my brainstorming document. But we've done everything from talking specifically about hypnosis for many things, as far as weight loss, hypnosis for anxiety. I go into a lot of mental health areas where I think on one episode we talked about Milton Erickson, who's a famous hypnotist from the mid 20th century. I do fun shows every once in a while. We did a show where I would count, once in a while I'll do a top 10 countdown. So it could be one of the top 10 episodes we did was top 10 movies that make men cry.
Oh.
Or top 10 film scores, because that tied into the episode I did prior, which was music therapy.
Okay.
So it all links together, but it's still having fun and doing something entertaining and just reaching out to people to make them feel good.
And our show's here in the Detroit area, of course. So how do folks find your podcast, and how can they listen? On what devices, and how do they get there?
They can listen to any, well, mostly any device. I'm on all of the major podcast providers, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the podcast providers. My podcast is there. It's Motor City Hypnotist Podcast.
And we were talking during the commercials that you have some great show notes in there. There's resources to kind of direct people. So if I'm listening and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was great, I need to get to that, we can definitely look up the information.
Absolutely.
There.
And also in the show notes on every episode, I'm always giving away stuff. And not that it's any effort on my part, but I'm always giving away a free hypnosis guide, which breaks down a lot of the things we've discussed today in the show. I give away a Hypnosis for Confidence MP3 almost every episode. And coming up soon, within the next month, I'm releasing Empower Your Mind for Success, a hypnotic guide, which will be an online course that you'll be able to purchase.
Tell us again your website.
Website is motorcityhypnotist.com.
Okay, and we can find you, I'm assuming, on all the social
media. Motor City Hypnotist on Facebook, and Motor City Hypno on Instagram and Twitter.
Okay. Well, it's been another great Celebrate Michigan show. We are so glad you joined us. Thank you, David R. Wright, and we'll see you next time. Take care.